Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about the skeletal system. We're going to talk about the bones, their structure, function, and classification. You should have with you the notes that go along with this lecture from the Weebly site. If you don't, take this time now to go print them off, or just open them on your desktop. So first off, I'll give you an introduction. The skeletal system contains a variety of tissues, and each bone is made up of several different types of tissues that work together, making it a functional unit. So this means that bone is an organ. There are 6 different functions of bones, and we'll talk about those in a bit. So one way that we classify bones is by shape. There are 4 basic shapes: long, short, flat, and irregular. Long bones are longer than they are wide. Some of these bones are ones that are in your arms and your legs. Short bones are about as wide as they are long in all directions. You'll find these in your hands and your ankles, but then there are bones that form inside of tendons. These are also short bones, and it's like your kneecap. Then we have flat bones. They're thin, flat, and a bit curved, kind of like your breastbone. Then there are irregular bones, and these have an irregular shape, like your hip bones. So you can think of your bones as an army. Everyone in an army has a specific purpose, just like each bone does. Every member in the army is important, just like the bones that we have are. But collectively, every member of the army has to reach a common goal. As we look at the functions of bones, try and think of how they're similar to what goes on in an army. So we have 6 functions of bones. There's support, protection, movement, mineral storage, blood cell production, and energy storage. I made another video specifically talking about the functions of bones. You can either pause the video now and go and watch it, or you can just wait until the end of this lecture to watch it. I'm going to go on and start talking about the different types of bone textures. First, there's compact bone. This is the dense outer layer that you usually see on the outer part of a bone. Then there's spongy bone. This is a honeycomb of small flat pieces. These pieces are called trabeculae. We will find the spongy bone in the inner part of a bone, and this is where red marrow is found. So let's talk about the structure of a typical long bone, like your thigh bone or your femur. There are 5 different structures that I want you to know. The first one is the epiphysis. If you look at this picture, you can see that the epiphysis is the end of a long bone. Typically, it's wider than the shaft below it. Here you can see this bone has 2 epiphyses. As we see here, there's compact bone on the outside and spongy bone on the inside. There's a line that separates the epiphyses from the shaft of the bone, and it's called the epiphyseal line. On the epiphysis, we have articular cartilage, which covers the joint surface. So this isn't in your notes, but articular cartilages are there in order to provide a smooth, lubricated surface where the bones meet. If it wasn't there, our bones would grind together. It also helps transmit the weight of our body. Competitive runners commonly have knee problems because of the constant force on their knees that slowly withers the cartilage away. So we were talking about the shaft of the bone. This is called the diaphysis. It is made out of compact bone that surrounds a hollow cavity. If you've ever eaten a chicken leg, usually you hold the ends and eat from the middle first. You're actually holding the epiphyses and eating from the diaphysis. So we were talking about a hollow cavity that's inside the diaphysis. That's called the medullary cavity, and it's usually filled with yellow marrow. Think about that chicken leg. Have you ever broken it open? Well, if not, next time break it open and you'll see that cavity. So there are 2 different membranes on the bones. First, there is the periosteum, which is a double-layered protective membrane found on the outside of the bone, right outside the compact bone. Then there's the endosteum, which is a delicate membrane covering the inside of the bone. This is found on the walls of the medullary cavity and in between the trabeculae. So that's it for long bones, but what about the other types of bones? Short, irregular, and flat bones have similar structures. They have thin plates of periosteum-covered compact bone on the outside with endosteum-covered spongy bone on the inside. They're not cylindrical, and they don't have a diaphysis or epiphysis. They contain bone marrow between the trabeculae, but no significant marrow cavity is present like the medullary cavity in long bones. Finally, we'll talk about the bone marrow. There are 2 kinds of bone marrow. There's red marrow and yellow marrow. Red bone marrow is where blood cell production takes place. It produces red blood cells, white blood cells, which helps you if you get sick, and platelets, which is what helps your blood clot if you get cut. As mentioned earlier, it's found in the spongy bone. There are specific places in the body where it's found. These are the vertebrae, hips, sternum, ribs, and skull, and at the ends of the long bones of the arm and leg. The purpose of yellow marrow is that it stores energy, or fat. It may be found in spongy bone, but it's commonly found in the medullary cavity of long bones. So that's it for this lecture. Good job! If you haven't watched the functions of bone video yet, please go do that now. And, if you don't understand anything, you can go back and rewatch a section that you missed or that you were just confused about. And if it didn't explain it well enough, just come and ask me. Just email me. My email is under the contact info on the website. Now I want you to go back to the website and continue with the lesson.